G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. What a week. It's been very, very hectic out there. Got to be one of the biggest weeks in the since the beginning of Bitcoin, I would say. The contagion is now really going wild out there, and the long tail is happening. The fat tail is starting to happen. So, a couple of concerns out there, which I'm going to go through now, but all in all, Bitcoin blocks keep getting made. Everything seems to be fine. So yeah, lots of good stuff as well to talk about. But really, all this FTX debacle and Sam Bankman-Fried, the complete scammer that he is, it's this period of time is going to be marked similar with Mt. Gox. If you don't know anything about Mt. Gox, just go and do a little bit of research on it. At the time, Mt. Gox was actually 60% of all trading in the whole market. So it doesn't really compare to that, in my opinion. But because the size of the market is much bigger, this probably equates to something like 10%. So it's still big, it's huge. And the ramifications are still falling out in front of us, and the dead bodies are still floating down the river, so to speak. So let's get in, and we'll start with Sam and try to wrap a bow around this. It's going to keep coming. There's going to be stuff continuing to come out all the time. I don't know if I really need to keep talking about him. He's just a dog, bad actor. But some of this stuff is worth showing just to concrete in your mind that crypto is all a scam. Anything but Bitcoin is just there to take your money. It's that simple. And everyone's corrupt, basically. So let's have a look. Wanted to start with these. These have both come out this week. These magazine covers traditionally have been pretty good indicators to do the opposite. I love when we start to see these usually at the bottom of a bear market. Now they ironically both say crypto, and there's nothing to do with Bitcoin here, but we all know that Bitcoin has been lumped in with the rest of this crap. So there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the Twitter webs and on the internet at the minute. Everyone's very scared. There's some very low predictions on price, which, very, very rarely come to fruition. But, from a timing band perspective, I think we're getting pretty close now to a bottom. A lot of other metrics are saying the same thing. So we'll have a look at those a little bit later, but always worth noting when these types of covers come out, they're almost a doom call, as in they're like a contrarian indicator that maybe it's time to start loading up the bags. I mean, that's a stupid thing for us to say. We've been loading the bags since 20K, and we only load those Bitcoin bags. We don't touch this other crap. So let's see here. This is really a great detailed look at the daisy chain of leverage that has caused all of these problems. Now you can pause this and go into a little bit more detail, but realistically, I think FTX is been the central fulcrum for all of the collapse that we've seen, because they would have pushed the market as a market maker, Alameda. They would have pushed certain narratives to suit their holdings, to pump up their own bags. And one of the ways to do that is to short or trick everyone into dumping Bitcoin and switching it out for altcoins. So when you see a couple of alts running, e.g. Solana, and Bitcoin's going down, people believe that they're rotating out of Bitcoin and into Solana. So I would say that without SBF, Bitcoin would have made a much higher high at its peak. And it turned out that he was trading with 80,000 false Bitcoin. People really got tricked there, sadly, when they were depositing their coins with him. It's a sad day. I don't know if we're ever going to see those. I don't know if we're ever going to see those coins again. Between 3 Arrows Capital and now FTX, it's a lot of missing cash. It's hard to believe that the total between those two, it's got to be well over 10 billion. They don't lose that money. It's somewhere, I'm telling you. It is somewhere out there. And, the guys from 3 Arrows have been on the news this week. Sam's still not even in jail. And so what this shows is that if you pay off the right people, you buy off the regulators, you buy off influencers, you buy off the media, and you buy off the pollies. You basically can walk around and do whatever you want. And this is the story that has been the same for years and years and years. And this is why the world is kind of fucked up, because the misalignment of incentives between businesses and politicians and the actual outcomes that they're trying to create for society are completely messed up. You have people like Sam going and spending tens of millions of dollars just to push through a certain narrative or to create protection around their racket, and they just get through. They just get let through. Of course they do. And then they pay the media to do puff piece after puff piece after puff piece. And they look like a hero, an altruist, a vegan altruist. And we're going to go through some of that stuff soon, but it's sort of a sad play. This play has been going on since World War II from Edward Bernays. He invented this game. This is this PR game, that's just propaganda. And people, sadly, in the world, I think this is the biggest tell. People in the world are so sheepish and so sheep-like. They just follow what they're told. It's almost ridiculous how much they follow what they're told. And they'll believe anything. People, I don't know if they'll ever change. What's it going to take for people to look at things from first principles and look at things properly? I just don't know. Maybe something like this. And you know what? We've seen this week a plethora, millions of new people buy hardware wallets and get their coins off of these fucking exchanges who are trying to steal your coins. No one can touch them when they're in a hardware wallet. No one. So yeah, this is a little bit of an easier chart to look at, if I'm honest, but it basically presents the same thing. So there's two new players that I'm talking about today. That is GBTC, which is Grayscale, Genesis, which is they're sort of kind of one and the same. They're owned by the same group, which is the DCG group. And then we've also got Silvergate, which is the bank of the crypto industry. And we'll get onto them later. But you can sort of see here, this carry trade that Grayscale were running was where all of these yields were formed from some of the lending platforms. So the moral of the story here is, if you rehypothecate Bitcoin, it is going to kill you and wipe you out. There's just no exception. No one has got around that yet. It takes no prisoners. If you use leverage and if you create paper promises against it, it is going to wipe you, because in the end, people are going to do a bank run on your fucking shit exchange and they're going to take their Bitcoin off of it. And so the only way to move forward really is for people to take complete custody of their coins. That's the only way they're really safe, and this whole place is going to move forward. Because these people are bad actors. Barry's a bad actor. It's been proven. You read about 2017 and the Bitcoin wars and the block size wars, sorry. Barry is a bad actor. These people are bad actors. By the way, Barry Silbert, who you're wondering who I'm talking about. Barry Silbert runs the Grayscale Trust and DCG and Genesis and like some of the marketing, some of the media like CoinDesk and stuff. So he's under pressure right now. Grayscale's under pressure. Genesis has thrown out we need $1 billion loan from someone. No one's giving him any money. Things are happening. Grayscale have got to probably dump a few coins. We could see lower prices. We may not. Silvergate might be fine. Genesis might be fine. And Grayscale might also be fine. Who knows? Who knows? But Sammy Boy, he's done a number on a lot of people. But Vox managed to have an interview with him this week, and it's not looking good. He was having this private conversation in the Twitter messages, and I don't know if he assumed this stuff was going to come out, but this reporter has just held no bars. It's a really good article if you want to read it. Just Google it, Vox, Sam Bankman-Fried, you will find it. And he's not, I don't know. He just shouldn't probably be commenting on anything at this stage. So the Vox reporter said, "You said a lot of stuff about how you wanted to make regulations, just good ones. That was pretty much just PR too." Sam replies with, "There's no one really out there making sure good things happen and bad things don't. Usually there's only one toggle, do more or do less. Yeah, just PR, fuck regulators. They make everything worse. They don't protect customers at all. All right, Sammy boy. There you go. Then the reporter later on says, you're really good at talking about ethics for someone who kind of saw it all as a game with winners and losers. Yeah, I had to be. It's what reputations are made of to some extent. I feel bad for those guys who get fucked by it, by this dumb game we woke Westerners play where we say all the right shibboleths, and so everyone likes us. And he wraps it right up. What he's saying is he scammed everyone. And all you got to do, as I said, is pay money to the right people. Then you tell them what they want to hear. They want to hear that you're a green nut, that you're a climate catastrophist, that you're an altruist and you hate money but you're trying to give it all away. They want to hear that you're a veggie. They want to hear that you can't dress yourself properly. They want to hear all of those things, and you just tell them. You just tell them what they want to hear, and they just give you wide berths. And when you feed them with money, you can literally do anything. And it's just been proven. So now when you think about all the pharmaceutical companies, all the other companies, all the energy companies over the years, oil companies probably, this system is fucked. You've got lobbyists and government people, pollies or senators, whoever's making the calls on this, and regulators, they're all getting their palms greased. The whole thing is corrupt. If you can't see the whole crony capital, like this cronyism that we're in now, is broken and the political structure does no longer function, then you're just an idiot. You're just a moron who's living in a fucking dream world. It's quite sad. It doesn't matter if you vote left, right, blue, red. It doesn't matter. It's all the same shit. Seriously, it's all the same. It's all corrupt. The whole world is corrupt now. And we're just sort of starting, obviously, we've corrupted the money, we're corrupting the people, and it's all imploding on itself. It's just a matter of time before it eats itself alive. So, Sammy boy, wow, when you pay the media, they cover you big time. That's what Billy Gates does. Whew. He gets away with literal murder. So, what we knew about Sam a while ago, and this is an old article, we knew that he hated Bitcoin. He hates it. Do you know why he hates it? Because he can't manipulate it. He can't spoof it. He can't lie about it. He can't bribe people with it. He can't do anything. He can't do anything with Bitcoin. And so then he condemned it. Bitcoin is no future as payments network, says FTX chief. He hated it. He got all of these pieces written about it, how bad it is. You know, how bad it is for the environment, how proof of work is no good, blah, blah, blah. And it's just so sad that people eat this crap up. These people slow down adoption for their self-interest. Same with Ripple, Ethereum, all of the bad articles are funded by altcoiners. They're not funded by normal people. Normal people don't care, or they sort of understand proof of work. It's funded. The whole fear campaigns from everywhere are funded by shitcoiners. It's so obvious. Even Greenpeace. Ripple paid Greenpeace $5 million. They're dogs. They're a security. They're going to go under. They have no use case. It's a sick joke. Makes me angry, but there we go. And here you go. Let's go through these. This is what money gets you. Happened last week, these articles, right? This is after he's stolen $8 billion of client funds and gambled with them, effectively. Let's see what the Washington Post say. Washington Post, FTX collapse dooms founders' pandemic prevention agenda? Oh, here's Reuters. Sam Bankman-Fried did the financial system a favor. Hang on here. Sam Bankman-Fried donated the maximum amount possible to the 6 Republican senators who voted to impeach Trump. What? What's that got to do with the price of eggs? Oh, look, here he is on the cover of Forbes. That was probably his death shot there. And Forbes, here we go. Here's Caroline. She's the CEO of Alameda. Alameda's research CEO, Caroline Ellison, is a math whiz who loves Harry Potter and taking big risks. She's also one of the supporting players in Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX catastrophe. What? So they're painting these frauds like this. She likes Harry Potter, Sam Bankman-Fried, pandemic prevention. Oh, look here, Queen Caroline, the risk-loving 29-year-old embroiled in the FTX collapse. Look at these. Look at how this is portrayed. These people are being portrayed as just, unlucky. Oh, they got wrapped up in some bad stuff. They were just unlucky. No, they weren't. This is called propaganda. It's staring you right in the face. And you don't want to believe that it happens every day in your precious mainstream media. I trust everything that CNN says. I mean, wake up. You can't trust a thing. You cannot trust a thing. I think if we didn't learn that, let me rephrase that. If you didn't learn that after COVID, then I don't know what I can do for you, because, wow, not good. Speaking of COVID, Sammy Boy, FTX gave $18.2 million to early COVID-19 researchers who cast doubt on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. There you go. Pay money to the thing of the day, whatever that is, whatever's on the top of my, whether it's a fucking Ukrainian flag, whether it's Zelensky being a hero, whether it's COVID stuff, whether it's green catastrophe stuff, whether it's like whatever it is, right? Save the environment. No one's ever allowed to use energy again. You get puff pieces and leeway from the government. It's disgusting. Why can't we live in reality? We live in a simulation. There's no other explanation. It's just so ridiculous that this stuff happens. It's just so sad. This is a huge... You know how much advertising you do for the 18 million? It's absurd. So, I mean, inadvertently, potentially, these funds that were used for this could have, in essence, killed people. Seriously. Oh, man. It's horrible. Horrible. So here you can see again, some more cash. Sammy Boy here. This will surely get cut, I assume. But on November 30, coming up, New York Times, they are going to host Sammy Boy, Zelensky, Larry Fink, he's a crook, and Janet Yellen. Look at these four absolute winners. And the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker, great Twitter account if you want to follow it. She's been insider trading for years, and nothing gets by the old stock tracker. I love it. You can't make this up if you tried. On the 30th of November, the New York Times was planning to host a live event with Sam Bankman-Fried, Zelensky, Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock, and US Treasury Janet Yellen as the main speakers. Cost to attend $2,400. Now, that would be a good way to get dumber if you listen to that, but my God, the incentives of these people, those four particularly, are very misaligned. It's almost frightening how misaligned these folks' incentives are. It's actually scary. And these people don't have your best interests at heart. And it's time that you started to question everything. Shit is getting real out there very quickly, and you need to stand up and you need to vote out of this system by buying Bitcoin. So I've just shown you a whole range of stuff about Sammy. He's a liar, he's a fraud, he's a scammer, he's a thief, and he's a gambler. This is him under oath. I think, I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Sammy.
Last thing that I'll say is if you look at what precipitated some of the 2008 financial crisis, you saw a number of bilateral, bespoke, non-reported transactions happening between financial counterparties, which then got repackaged and releveraged again and again and again, such that no one knew how much risk was in that system until it all fell apart. If you compare that to what happens on FTX or other major cryptocurrency venues today, there's complete transparency about the full open interest. There's complete transparency about the positions that are held. There's a robust, consistent risk framework applied, and we're excited to work with the CFTC on our U.S. licensed and regulated venue to bring a lot of this.
He's just not really a good guy, is he? And at the end of the day, after seeing what you've seen, it's pretty easy to start to see that FTX may have just been a money laundering haven for the government, for Ukraine, for some of the big institutions. It started to become very obvious when, no one really knew anything about how this guy got his business to 32 billion so quickly. I mean, it just reeks of corruption. And this shows it absolutely perfectly. So there you go. Look at him holding up the Ukrainian flag and the veggie man. Oh, we're helping Ukraine. The taxpayer and oblivious investor funds and all of the cash that he stole. Straight into the laundromat. Boom. Straight into the coffers of the government. While he's paid off the regulators who are just turning a blind eye to this. It's sick. It's sick. Honestly. How can we allow lobbyists in the world? I mean, quite frankly, the government, the senators, they have no clue about anything. There are some good ones, but there is obviously a lot of crap as well. And money talks. It's always been the same. You can bribe anyone. I don't care if you think that you would never be bribed. Trust me, when the situation is right, you can be bribed. All of us can be bribed. It's just the way it is. Man is weak. And it's just the way it is. And that's why we need to separate money and state. And that's why we're in Bitcoin. Forget about the price. The price doesn't matter. What the goal is to separate the corruption, the state, with the money. Let the money be on its own and it will stop. If it can't be corrupted, then it'll stop most of the issues, honestly. It's that simple. It's that simple. And that's what I'm here for. I really am. All I hope is that some people stack some sats from these videos. They learn more. They dig in and read all of the amazing resources. Make themselves a better person. Build their legacy for their family and their kids around Bitcoin, knowing that it's going to be here in 100 years. It's the only thing we know that's going to be here in 100 years. Think about that deeply, what I'm saying to you. That's all we know. And understand the corruption that we live in. I mean, it's the only option we have is to vote with our money. And you should vote by buying Bitcoin. David Bailey here, he does a great job. When you look back, it's very easy in hindsight. It's like same thing with selling tops. Very easy in hindsight to see. But he's done a great job here of listed a little red flag checklist for Sammy Boy and FTX. Smartest guy in the room. Classic one for that. Outside of US jurisdiction, mysterious origin story, small team size, comparatively to the size of their market cap. Mega marketer, pro-regulation, clout chaser, political donor, celebrity hoe. Unclear source of income, guaranteed returns, meteoric rise to power. And what else? The only people that knew were the Bitcoiners. The only people that knew were the Bitcoiners. Think about that. The Bitcoiners were too harsh on people, remember? You remember looking through Twitter? Oh, the Bitcoin maxis, they hurt everyone's feelings. No. All they do is make the right calls. They're the only ones that verify. They are the only ones that dig in, quite frankly. So you need to listen to them on nearly every subject because they just keep getting proved right again and again and again and again. So here it is, Grayscale, the Grayscale Trust. It's a very bad setup. It was always a bad setup, but it was an early opportunity for Barry to get his foot in the door in an odd regulated period of time, which was 2018. I think it came out in 2018. It had no traction early, but it gained traction because you were able to put these GBTCs in normal vehicles. So, big investment companies, hedge funds, and that could hold this crap GBTC and not hold Bitcoin. They weren't allowed to hold Bitcoin direct. They still aren't. So this has caused a big problem because rather than letting people hold Bitcoin, institutions or individuals or retirement funds or whoever, or individual folks who want to put in their retirement account. They had to buy this crap. And at the time, they were paying a premium. Now it costs a discount. It's like half the price of a Bitcoin all of a sudden. So this is 1 for 1. So what happens is you buy a GBTC, Barry buys a Bitcoin and puts it in his trust. You pay him 2% per annum for the privilege of holding a paper shit contract of a Bitcoin that costs half as much. And no one knows what Barry's done with these. This is part of the issue that we're coming up against right now, which is number one, which I wanted to talk about from the start. Where are these 640,000 Bitcoin that Barry claims he's got in cold storage? Is he going to have to sell some of these? He's obviously selling them constantly, by the way, to collect the 2% premium. So he collects, and then when someone wants to sell, pardon me, I should have explained this earlier. When someone wants to sell this product, they only get cash back. They never see the Bitcoin ever. It's a horrible product. It's horrible, horrible, horrible product. And you can see here that it's basically, it's so discounted that, I think it's going to have to go lower because Barry is in strife with Genesis, which is his market maker outfit. And they want $1 billion. They just tried to raise $1 billion this week. They're obviously in strife. So he's going to have to pick up the pieces, I would say, and sell a bunch of the Bitcoin in the trust. So we might have a little sales flurry coming up. We might not. Who knows? But you know what? It doesn't matter for us. Because we've been stacking under 20. We're loving life. We're DCAing all the time. We've got a little bit of dry powder ready to go. We're in the box seat. We're waiting for anything and everything that's happening. We're waiting and ready. We buy and we put straight into a hardware wallet. It's that simple. Joe does a great job here of briefly outlining some of these actions that have occurred in this Bitcoin trust over the last period of time. As GBTC has been dumped by institutions all year long, parent company Digital Currency Group, DCG, has chosen to pick up the bag. 3AC dumped 100% of its bags. BlockFi dumped 100% of its bag. DCG is the largest holder of its subsidiary Bitcoin trust. And you can see some of the other big names here, Horizon, ARK, Rothschild Investments. These folks have a lot of this stuff on the books. And wow, it's kind of scary, to be honest with you. Their purchases of GBTC are to mitigate the impact of the institutional level selling pressure and prop up the fund's net asset value, almost like a stock buyback. Still, that intervention has stopped the discount to NAV of the fund widening out to, hasn't stopped the discount of the, still, that intervention hasn't stopped the discount to NAV of the fund widening out to 42%. It's actually 46%, just between you and me. But this is obviously a couple of days old. So things aren't looking good. And it's likely, as I said, he's going to probably have to sell a few more. All of this GBTC intervention as it blew 140 mil to help its subsidiary Genesis. Now DCG is requesting a $1 billion emergency loan. Good luck finding a lender after this week. They may have to drop some of their GBTC holdings to shore up cash, widening the discount further in that case. So, big play here, 640,000 Bitcoin. Let me just repeat that. 640,000 they hold in this trust. It's a big hold. It's a big player. So we really don't want anything to happen to them, quite frankly. But, then again, it's nice to wash out all of these troubled parties. There is no lender of last resort. This is just natural occurrence occurring. Now, I also really want to stress this, which is going to be hard for most people to hear who are listening to this. What happened to FTX is like a bank run, or what's happened to a lot of these other lending platforms. It's just effectively a bank run. This would happen in the legacy system too. But there's a buyer of last resort. It's a backstop. So people have built up so much trust in the system. The money's not safe in the bank. Seriously, do some research. It's not safe in the bank either. You've got massive counterparty risk and the banks are levered up like 25 to 1. maybe not quite 25 to 1, but close to 25 to 1 with your money that you don't actually have. It's just dots on a screen. So it's a scary world. And in the end, it's got to all come down to Bitcoin because it's a true ledger that can operate in a trustless system without any human intervention. The human is the weak link in money because greed always takes over, always wins. So number 2, the second party here is Silvergate. You probably haven't heard of Silvergate. Basically, all crypto, I'll say, businesses back over the last fair few years couldn't find banking partners in traditional systems, but normal banks. They wouldn't bank them, basically. And so Silvergate came to the rescue. They became the bank of the whole industry, effectively. And so you can see here from this little map, they've got loans, huge loans out, and probably big lines of credit with everyone, quite frankly. So when businesses are going under, these guys are feeling more and more strain, more and more stress. They're never going to get funds back. Their loans are going to default, all sorts. And it just gets more scary again and again and again. So we don't really still know where the contagion or the fat tail of this event ends up and who's still to say float down the river. But I'd be very surprised if there's not more bodies. And here's Silvergate's stock price now. It's tanking. It's fairly in line with Bitcoin's price, but it's taking a hit. I think, people must know something out there. So yeah, it's an interesting scenario. And right now we've got stolen funds from FTX in ETH, like the third biggest amount of funds that anyone holds of ETH are being dumped on the market right now. So, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? All we can hope for, honestly, if you're watching this, all we can hope for is more of the same. We just want to keep stacking Bitcoin. We want to keep dollar cost averaging in. We've got our dry powder. We keep speaking about the dry powder. It's there for if something crazy happens, we can stack in hard. Everyone wins. We've got 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 100-year time horizons. It's all good. It is all good. And this came across my feed this week. Absolutely perfect illustration. This is exactly the truth of the matter. The perception is that Bitcoin is just a little cog in the big crypto wheel. You hear the media buzzing out crypto and blockchain and all of these idiotic words that have nothing to do with anything. But in reality, it's all Bitcoin. It is all Bitcoin. None of this space would even be in existence without Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the start. It is the finish. It's the zero to one. It's a zero. Bitcoin is the 0 to 1 moment. It's the only innovation. The other stuff is just vaporware that's basically there to replicate the shit fiat system that we already are in. That is incredibly, unfair. So the more people that go through these situations, the more people that learn about these scam artists, the more people that means that buy hardware wallets, stack their sats, and keep them in a sovereign manner, the better. People get hurt, but this is just the nature of life. You've got to be responsible for your own stuff. That's how the world works. So stop hoping to have a backstop. They're not going to be a backstop. Trust me. This is from Ter Demista. If you haven't followed Ter or read some of his early works, he's one of the oldest OGs. I think he produced the first institutional grade newsletter way back in the day. But this is the perfect illustration. It's the honey badger. The honey badger is the epitome of just keeping on going. It cannot be brought down. It fights with snakes, gets wrapped up and kills them, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just can take on anything that comes in its path. And that's what Bitcoin is. And I think if you look back over this last 6 months, we're going to see that we've been through a coordinated attack against Bitcoin. I think that that's almost obvious now with the CBDCs coming, all of the shit coins, all of the other stuff pushing into government. I think it's safe to say that we now have, been through this that coordinated attack. The mining is the last part of the chain to see what happens there, but it's looking strong. So we'll see. But that honey badger can't keep him down. All right, it's time to do a little bit of comparison work here. We've got great data here. Just hear me out. Stay with me on the video. Stay with me. We've got lots of good stuff coming up. So we're the green line here. This is the current market. We are bang on schedule timing wise to be near the low, or if we haven't had the low already, we might be getting very, very close. From a drop perspective, as a percentage down, where we've got a little bit more to go, maybe not. So it really does depend. And you look back at this block of time, it's clear that it's clear. I think I've said this. It's clear that we would have made a much higher high without all of these false claims that Sam had produced, and all of this other leverage in the system. So, do we go all the way down? I just don't know. It doesn't really matter. As I said, fundamentally, I don't really care about the price. I just care that we keep moving forward and keep getting users, which is what we're doing. So, yeah, look, I'm happy. As I said, anything under 20K, I'm really happy stacking. Other good news, Oil Giant are bringing solutions for Bitcoin mining. This is great for energy companies because what happens is when they flare their gas, the methane that comes out of that is horrific. It's like 35 times worse than CO2, which is the big key buzzword for all the climate catastrophists out there. I mean, the climate catastrophe stuff is just another one of these. Anyway, let's not get into that now. Regardless, I'm happy to prevent the methane from going into the atmosphere. So, Bitcoin mining, basically you take the methane, you plug it into a generator, burn it into CO2. It's 35 times better for the environment than letting it flare off. And in the meantime, you're mining, using the energy to mine Bitcoin and earn cash. So there's never been anything else ever that will incentivize energy companies or tech companies or whoever who's got to incentivize them with income to make more efficient energy and tech for energy. It's great. It's almost Bitcoin mining is almost unstoppable because of that fact. And it's already super green. And I'd say within a couple of years, it will be the greenest industry in the whole world, easily. Because you're incentivized to be green. You're incentivized to find ways to use energy in its most efficient manner. It's a beautiful thing. Also this week, we've had Drake, Champagne Pappy. He's dropped this on his stories to probably 100 million people. That's his ledger there, waiting on you, Bitcoin. So this is another great thing. These lots and lots of people know you gotta put your shit on the hardware device. And look what he's done here. He's got a bit of bling on there, so it's a bit of a showpiece. So it's not great for Champagne Pappy because he wants to, you can't really show your bling, can't really show off your Bitcoin. How does that work? But he's got some. That's a Nano S, pretty old school. So he's been around for a while. Love to see it. Just love to see it. And this is a great message for a lot of people. A lot of people would have got this message hard and gone straight and bought Ledgers. Ledger has had, apparently, over the last couple of weeks, greatest sale day after record sale day. So they're on fire. People are getting it. It's good news. And this justifies exactly what I just said with these people going off of exchanges. This is the mempool. So this is the backlog, so to speak. It's not much of a backlog, but it's a backlog of transactions that are happening on the main chain. And you can see it's just gone from nothing to absolute chaos because people are taking coins off exchanges. We've had a mass exodus of coins off exchanges. And we're in a great place now. Exchanges are running dry of Bitcoin. It's just a beautiful thing. Okay, so we've got now long-term total supply held by long-term holders. We're on, and the yellow is the orange, is like a 30-day moving average of that number. And you can see here what happens. People are stacking. The long-term holders are stacking. No one's selling. No one is selling out there. So anyone who's had Bitcoin for a while or been through a cycle or has done enough work, they know that now is a great time to be stacking sats. It's a great time. We're getting forced sellers like Barry at Grayscale, and we can buy cheap sats. It's a beautiful thing. People are stacking. They know. So Checkmatey here, he runs a Glassnode. So he knows what he's doing. He's a on-chain analyst who actually has a clue, and he's an Australian, ironically. With Bitcoin simply flooding out of exchanges, we now have a 5-year high in sovereign supply of 87.7% of the total. All BTC, which flowed into exchanges since 2018, has now been withdrawn. Self-custody and spot-driven Bitcoin markets are back on the menu. It's just a beautiful thing. We are in a prime time of long-term hodlers. So many people are still in profit, mind you, and they're just stacking away. This process has worked for them, so they've got to keep at it. And Bitcoin's going to shine again. Trust me on that. All right, here's the CBBI. I've spoken about this before, but let's jump over onto the web and just quickly run through this as a fundamental. It's a beautiful way to look at a large set of data points put into one chart. Okay, so here you go. We're at a 3, which is frighteningly low. And basically what this chart does, I've said this before, but it basically compiles a bunch of really important indicators and pushes them all into one chart. Now, you can see here historically, or currently, let's just start there. We're at a 3, which is what we just spoke about. We were at a 2 on Monday, the 14th of November. It's only ever been at 2 like once before. So these indicators have caught the last bottom. This was the actual bottom of the 2018 bottom, which was a CBBI confidence level of 2. And this one was a CBI of 1, this low in 2015. If you bought on these, if you bought anywhere under 5, you've bought generational buys. There's no doubt. We're at a 3 and people are scared. They want to sell their Bitcoin. So, you've got to think really hard, use the data, think about the fundamentals. Everything's going in our favor. It's just a very special time to be stacking sats. So keep an eye on this. Whether we see another low, I just don't know, and I don't really care. I'll be stacking regardless. And at a 3, these are special times. What are we at now? To like a 16,000 handle US? Oh, man. Didn't think I'd see those numbers again, but here we are. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And it's an interesting time. I wanted to put this in today just to remind you that Bitcoin is really the only true measurement of time, because we've lived through now a 0 interest rate period of time, which warped the connection between productivity and time. And so over a 100-year period, the only thing that you can rely on as a measure of your output is Bitcoin, because it's going to be around. So if you forget, or if you just trust that the system is going to continue to debase itself, Bitcoin is the only place to store your value. You can't hold money in the bank anymore because you're losing, they say you're losing, say 10% a year with the CPI. The truth of the matter is the actual debasement is more like 20%, 15 to 20%. And it's not going to go away. People are cheering on 7 or 8% CPI. It's insane. It's still going up at a huge rate of knots. And they're not going to be able to get it back down as easily as everyone wishes they will. So, it's a very tricky time to make big decisions. But know that if you buy a Bitcoin, it's an incredibly liquid market. You can sell these things at any time of the day, any day of the week. You have the cash back in your hand and in your bank account in a matter of moments. You can keep this away. Keep your hard-earned energy. It's your energy. Time. Money and time is just your hard work put into some form of storage. And Bitcoin, you can house that for the future. That's why we do it. We're saving it for our legacy, for the future, for our kids. It's the only way they're going to have a better life is if we make sacrifices now. So this is another great chart. I had to show you this. I think it might be a better visual of the timing bands of where we're at. Now this goes way back, these cycles. Historically, we're bang on timing schedule for our low. Always or sort of between November and January. Same amount of time, very similar, almost like a year's worth of down run. And for all of you who have stuck around this year, well done. If this is your first bear market, you've done really well. This has been a tough one. But it's got to be getting close now. The dead bodies have got to be nearly finished. And we might get one more little leg down, one little gift from the Bitcoin gods. But, just take all this information in. It feels crazy, but we're near the bottom. We are near, if not have already had the bottom. The blood is in the streets. It's running wild down the gutter, and you just go and buy. You just buy. You just care not, and you buy. And you think about it in 5 years, and you go, that was good buying. So because there's no CEO, there's no board, there's no one to talk to about Bitcoin, we usually just get bad takes. But from time to time, they bring on people onto mainstream who actually have a clue. Jack Mallers is an absolute OG, a gun. He's a Lightning Network genius. He understands things through and through, and he's definitely worth a listen. Have a listen to this.
The first thing I want to do is I do want to get your response to this FTX fallout, and also whether Strike in any form or fashion, or yourself even personally, have any kind of exposure to what we're seeing play out.
No. Strike, myself, and Bitcoin at large has nothing to do with SBF and FTX. I mean, it's nothing other than absolutely disgusting and malicious crime. In the same way that someone can go hijack a car down the street from my house, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin either. Unfortunately, it's just an extreme level of criminal activity, crime, and fraud. However, I think a really important point to make is that the world is finally starting to realize that there's Bitcoin and there's everything else. The way I like to describe the crypto industry and blockchain is it's an arbitrage on the trend. I mean, humanity really found its stride in inventing Bitcoin. Money is the most valuable market good we have in any market. It's nucleus to a functioning society. And we made and engineered the best version of it. And the fact that there are other cryptos that have been able to come along and take advantage of the pure desire and need for an invention and technological breakthrough like Bitcoin, and then be able to sell things like Orange Coin and Pink Coin and FTX Coin, which are just vehicles to arbitrage this trend and commit violent levels of crime. It's sad and it's disgusting, and it's got to stop. So it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. If anything, it should be a very expensive and painful lesson of that there's Bitcoin and there's everything else. And the last thing I'll say is there's doesn't shock me at all that FTX actually owns 0 Bitcoin. Because if you want to commit fraud, if you want to commit crime, if you want to upsell and wash trade pictures of monkeys, you don't use Bitcoin. This is a well-engineered freedom fighting tool for our species. And there's everything else it's got to stop. So the arbitrage on this trend has been margin called. And it's over. And now people can see the difference between what is a well-engineered tool for humanity and what is FTX counterfeit coin.
You have strong opinions on this, and I get that. And certainly many other Bitcoin enthusiasts, such as yourself, have said very similar things on our programming over the past week plus since we've seen the implosion of FTX. I want to get into that because it sort of speaks to DeFi versus centralized. But first, I mean, the fact that you are seeing some contagion, at least in the broader cryptocurrency space right now. It's clearly a culling that's underway. You could argue it started before FTX. It's continuing now. does it set back broader adoption of something like Bitcoin because it's considered, for better or worse, part of this broader industry?
Sure. I mean, you could think of it two ways. They had to get washed out, right? You had a criminal running rampant. They had to get caught. So better catch them today than tomorrow. So in that way, we're making progress. Actual real value that's pushing humanity forward is being realized, and those that were faking it are getting in trouble. That's a good thing. But no, I've always said the biggest cost of the arbitrage on the trend, outside of the very obvious, and I don't want to dilute this, is just innocent people losing money, which is absolutely terrible and awful, and they should not have been allowed to be subjected to that. But that aside is the cost of just human capital. Is
so,
that like
so
I'm
you're
saying?
saying unequivocally Freed is a crook?
I'm not sitting next to my lawyer. I don't know what claims I'm allowed to make, but you tell me, Tyler. What do you think?
Well, that's not for me to say. I'm the questioner
yeah,
here.
I think the guy created funny money out of thin air, potentially washed it, borrowed against it with customer funds, and lost it all.
Right.
That's not legal.
Okay, cool. Well, not cool, but you know what I'm saying. I just thank you for your answer.
Sure.
Freedom fighting tool for our species. That's highfalutin rhetoric. Why do you say that?
Bitcoin gives everyone in the world property rights secured by mathematics. I mean, Bitcoin is the first monetary asset that we've been able to engineer with no natural issuer. Bitcoin has no liability relationship with anyone else. It is a guaranteed, fixed, protected monetary policy and instrument. I mean, in order to function any sort of scalable trade, which is underpins society. I grow bananas, you sell apples, Tyler. We got to find a way to exchange. Money is the nucleus of functioning human society. And we've been able to a breakthrough in computer science and engineer the best version of that is accessible to everyone and equitable for everyone. No one has an advantage. There's no issuer. Even Satoshi Nakamoto had to use energy to get his or her first Bitcoins. Huge deal. Huge advancement.
What does regulation, what does this do to, what does regulation now do to Bitcoin, given the fact that there is now a bigger risk of a broader brushstroke used by regulators, given everything that we're seeing play out in other areas of cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, my take is either the SEC or an agency like it has to stop existing and admit to the free market. It's your responsibility. But if they're going to say that we will help protect you, they need to do that.
As always, massive thank you for sticking around this far, listening into the video. Like the video, please. I appreciate it. Share it around if you think it's useful. Stack some sats. This is a great time. This is the time to be stacking sats. So stack them up, load them up, and stay well out there. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Thanks again for watching.